Hello everyone, welcome to Badra IAS. We are discussing APSC mains questions from 2018. So this is my intro. My name is AP Goswami. I have appeared for 5 UPSC interviews, 2 interviews of civil services, 2 of Indian Forest Service, 1 of CAPF. I have worked in CRPF for 2 years and I have cleared prelims of UPSC 7 times consecutively from 2015 to 2021. So I have decent experience of all the phases of exam and that with that I can guide you in all the phases. So we are discussing APSC mains 2018 paper. Earlier we have discussed 2 questions. Now we are taking 4 questions. So we will not be focusing on the content but the structure. Content, having cleared prelims, you guys already know a lot of content. So let us see how is the Finance Commission of India is constituted. Discuss the terms of reference of the 15th Finance Commission. So first first part of the question is Constitution of Finance Commission. So we will give this heading. Always use keywords of the question, that is constituted. So Constitution of Finance Commission. So it is a constitutional body formed by the President under Article 280. Chair of the 15th Finance Commission is N.K. Singh, and its time frame is 2020 to 2026. So this is the first part of the question. So here we can see how just a few keywords can give us a proper answer. Now next part, again we are using the question keywords as it is as headings, and we should always do this because this shows that we are writing according to the demand of the question. So here we have this heading, the terms of reference of 15th Finance Commission. So these are very simple things that we have to incorporate in our answers to make them look better and to make them look like we are writing as per the demand of the question. So terms of reference, so distribution of proceeds of net income between union and the states, principles which should govern grant and aids under Article 275, needed to augment the consolidated fund of a state, recommend a fiscal consolidation roadmap, to propose measurable performance-based incentives for states, and to review the present arrangement on financing the disaster management initiatives. So these are few terms of reference of 15th Finance Commission which we can write in a summary format, and these keywords will give us a 200 words answer, which was the requirement in APSC mains of 2018. So this is the answer related to Finance Commission. Now next question, what is social justice? First part of the question, different dimensions, second part, and third part is its importance in the Indian context. So first, what is social justice? We can make this part itself as an intro. So social justice is nothing but equal economic, political, and social rights and opportunities. So this is simple definition which we can get from NCERT or United Nations definition. So this is the basic definition. No need to write anything else in intro because question is having 3 parts. So we need to give adequate attention to the important part. So this is the merely informative some basic understanding part. Now we have to give also different dimensions and importance in Indian context. So this is the most significant part of the question. So second part, we will again will giving headings as per the question keyword. So we will be writing dimensions that constitute social justice. So they are equal rights, equal opportunity, equal treatment. Now we can represent this as triangle also. So this makes our answer very interesting. So instead of writing these 3 things, what we can do, we will give heading, then we will write social justice, and we will write here equal rights, then we will write on this side equal opportunities, and on the third point we will write equal treatment. So that makes our definition of social justice very obvious. So always use triangles when something is having three points as its dimension. So this is the second part. So whenever we are having more than two parts, we can definitely represent one part in some diagrammatic format. So earlier in last video we discussed that we can represent some information in How and Spoke. Now here we can see that we can represent different dimensions of social justice in triangular format. Now third part, so importance of social justice in Indian context. Social justice is the foundation stone of Indian constitution, as we can see from the our preamble. So preamble discusses justices, social, economic, political. So all this you know. The most important thing is to structure the answer well. So we discussed the intro, we discussed the second part, then we saw the innovation that we can do. Then again we are using the keywords as heading, underlining that. Then we are writing social justice is foundation stone of Indian constitution. It is mentioned in preamble as justice, social, economic, and political. Social justice denotes equal treatment of all citizens without any social distinction between caste, color, race, religion, sex, and so on. So particularly in a country like India where we have immense diversity, India is a country of continental proportions. It is a subcontinent in itself. So in this country, social justice assumes extra significance. In the absence of, so we have to create a society where there is absence of privilege to any section, and we have to improve the conditions of backward classes like SC, ST, and OBCs and women. So that is why social justice is very much important in Indian context. So question itself is asking about socio-economic orientation in our answer. So earlier when we discussed the the salient features of a good mains answer, there we discussed that our answers need to have this socio-economic orientation. Even when it is not directly asked, this question is directly asking the socio-economic orientation in Indian context. But in case if it is not directly asking, always remember that we have to write question in a particular socio-economic context, and we have to respect and write with respect to that socio-economic context. Next question, analyze the salient features of the Charter Act of 1833. How can it be considered a landmark in the constitutional history of India? So again, we are having two parts, salient features of Charter Act, and we have to show the analysis that indeed it is a landmark in constitutional history of India. So first introduction, so Charter Act of 1833, it renewed East India Company's charter for another 20 years in India. Now no more words we require for into, that is enough. Now second part, salient features of Charter Act of 1833. So we are explicitly mentioning the part, and we can underline it also. And after that, we will mention our point. So companies' commercial activities were closed down. It was made into administrative body. Then companies' trade links with China were closed. The act permitted the English to settle freely in India. So we can see the increasing footprint and formalization of the process which made India colony. So the act in a way legalized British colonization of the country. Company still possessed Indian territories, but it was held in the trust of His Majesty. So we can see the in the language that indeed India became a colony at that time. Now, how it was a landmark in constitutional history of India. So India clearly became a British colony as Governor General of Bengal was designated as Governor General of India. It was a final step in the centralization of India's administration. The legislative powers of Bombay and Madras principalities, they were withdrawn and given to a Governor General of India itself. Now, ending of East India Company's commercial activities and making it into a British Crown's trustee in administrating India, that was also a significant step. Also, at that time, first law commission was formed, and whatever laws that British East India Company was making in India, they were now to be called as acts. Provision of Indians, then they also gave provision for Indians to appear in government service. So we can say the merit was now considered as a criteria to enter into the service, not relations, race, color, all these things. So these are the factors which made this act a landmark in constitutional history of India. Now, next question, discuss the formation of Union Council of Ministers. The first part is how the process of formation of Union Council of Ministers. Second part, we have to discuss power and functions of Union Council of Ministers. The first part, formation of Union Council of Ministers. So we have to give this heading. We have to explicitly give this heading and underline it. Then we will write. So first, PM is appointed by the President, and then PM makes explicit his choice of ministers and recommend it to President. President will appoint these as ministers. So normally only a member of either House of Parliament is appointed as minister, but if somebody is not a member of Parliament, he can also be appointed as the minister, but he has to get the membership within 6 months of his appointment. Then there is a condition also that ministers, number of ministers, it cannot be more than 15% of total membership of Lok Sabha. So this is the in summary, this is the whole a process of formation of Union Council of Ministers. Next, again we will be giving headings, power of Union Council of Ministers. Now in this question we can also give subheadings. So powers, what kind of powers? Executive powers, legislative powers, financial powers, and functions. So executive powers, all executive powers of President of India, they are actually used by the Council of Ministers. The policy making is introduced by the Council of Ministers only in the Parliament. Then day-to-day running of all the ministries and departments, that is done and headed by the Council of Ministers. Then treaty making, defense functions on behalf of president, that is done by Council of Ministers only. So this is executive power. Then legislative power. So though legislation is a function of Parliament, but ultimately Council of Ministers, they decide the agenda, and most of the bills, they are introduced and piloted by them only. Now financial power. So budget is approved by the Parliament, but budget is prepared by the Council of Ministers, and they get it approved by the Parliament. Cabinet or Council of Ministers, they also lay down the fiscal policies of the government and get it approved by the Parliament. So these are the executive, legislative, and financial powers and functions of the Council of Ministers. So this is how we have to give the heading, and then we have to give subheadings also to make it look better. Instead of writing all our points in under a single heading of powers of Union Council of Ministers, we will be writing in 3 different subheadings that will refine our answer further. So this is all. This is all in this discussion. We have discussed a total 6 APSC mains questions from 2018. In coming videos, we will discuss more questions from APSC mains 2018. Thank you.